Hi there. So here we are with Chapter 1. I want to keep these videos as short as possible. The idea is just to give you a bit of a guideline and assistance as you read through the chapter. Also, I'll be telling you about the discussion topics we'll be having in class. So make sure you think about those carefully before we meet. Finally, there are closed captions to help you with the English if you need them. Let's get started. We need to have some objectives for each lesson in the course. By the end of this chapter, and hopefully with the help of this video, you should have a decent understanding of why you want to be a language teacher, the basic flow of a language class, and what points are important to consider when observing a class. Make sure you keep these in mind as you go through the chapter. These are the topics we are going to cover in this chapter. It is pretty simple, so I'm going to be adding a little extra to the side. Make sure you read the chapter carefully and watch this video to fully prepare for class. Can you remember when you first decided that you wanted to become a teacher? How about that you wanted to be a language teacher? I remember being in grade 2 of elementary school, and I was teaching a grade 1 student some spelling. When that grade 1 student understood the spelling, I understood the feeling of someone learning a new thing because of me. There are plenty of reasons to become a language teacher. Maybe you enjoy the challenges that come with teaching, or perhaps you see teaching as a lifelong learning experience. You might simply enjoy languages and want to pass that knowledge on to others. Or, like me, the feeling of accomplishment that comes with teaching might be what called you. For our first discussion, I'd like you to talk about the reasons why you decided to become a language teacher. If you can, tell a story that includes the moment you decided that you wanted to be a teacher. It's through telling stories that we pass on knowledge and feelings to others. Be prepared with your stories to share with others in class. I'd like to follow the first discussion topic with another one about your experiences with teaching as a student. I imagine you have had many teachers in the past. Tell your experiences with good and, if you like, not so good teachers. On pages 3 to 8 of our textbook, we see a description of a lesson taught in Korea. I'd like you to read through the description of the lesson so you'll get a basic idea of the structure. Although it is not mentioned in the textbook, this lesson follows a PPP design. The PPP structure of a lesson is a very popular way of teaching. First, we have present. Here, the teacher introduces the topic and/or grammar point of the lesson for that day. Then we have practice. This is when students are given chances to practice. This might include repeating after the teacher, reading aloud, or doing drills. Finally, we have produce. It is at this stage when students are given the opportunity to produce their own English sentences or conversations while using the main topic or grammar point of the lesson. As you read through the lesson description, think about where each P of the PPP structure fits into the lesson. What do you think of the PPP structure? Some people dislike it, whereas others swear by it. I would like you to critically analyze the PPP structure, and we will have a discussion about this in class. When I say critically analyze it, I mean think about the strengths and weaknesses of this lesson structure. Then, decide whether you would like to use it in your own classes. If you prepare for this, with some examples of course, we can have some good discussions in class. I don't want to get into this too much here, but personally, I don't mind the PPP structure. However, I would like to add an extra P at the beginning, kind of like PPPP, or 4P, I guess. I would like to see production 1 at the beginning, then production 2, which is a slightly more advanced version of the first production task, at the end. This way, the teachers can get an idea of how much students already know about the topic and/or grammar point, as well as get a clear idea of what points students already understand well, thus need little explanation in the presentation stage, and those points students don't understand well. This way, the teacher can provide a little more personalized coaching for the students. What do you think about 4P? If we have time, let's discuss this in more detail during class. Now we are going to analyze the lesson. When we analyze and give feedback on a lesson, usually we start by looking at the positive points. Then we consider the weaknesses and how they can be improved. Our textbook gives us 18 points on pages 8 to 10 to consider when we analyze this lesson. Obviously, these are all important, but I'd like to point out number 3. For me, there are 2 key points here. First, creating a segue, that is, a smooth transition between the opening small talk and the lesson itself. If you can do this successfully in your lessons, you might be able to create a lesson atmosphere in which students are learning before they realize that they are learning. And second, the teacher didn't just give students names of movies. She asked the students for movies that they had seen and then used those movies in the lesson. This can create a sense of agency, that is, a feeling that the students have control over their learning. This is a really important part of learning and teaching, and we will discuss this more in Chapter 5. Okay, so I'd like to have one final discussion here. What I would like you to do is choose one of the 18 points given on pages 8 to 10. Of course, don't choose number 3, as I've already talked about that. So choose one of the points, then I would like you to have a discussion in your group. You can ask others for their opinions and express your ideas based on the questions in that point. Of course, if you want to, you can choose more than one. Well, it's just about time to wrap this chapter up. The main focus of this chapter was to think about how we look at lessons as a whole. How do we want to teach our classes? What do we want to look for when we are observing classes? In this course, you will have many chances to observe and analyze each other's model classes. So make sure you have a clear idea of what you are going to be focusing on in those. That's it from me. Do you think you were able to achieve the objectives for this chapter? You are, of course, welcome to go back and check any of the slides you wish to look at again at any time. If you want to practice your listening a bit, turn off the closed captions and see how you go. See you in class.